All right. All Stan Pulliam wanted to do this Saturday was hold a small, peaceful campaign rally in Portland. He's a Republican mayor of nearby Sandy, Oregon, and he's running for governor. It would make sense to try to get the vote out in the state's biggest city, but things didn't turn out like he planned. Well, Antifa strikes again. Look at them go. Half a dozen Antifa super soldiers throwing smoke bombs and waving black flags like they're part of the all-goth color guard. I know that looks ridiculous. These jokers did, though, hurt two people, including a child and an elderly woman. Mayor Stan described the scene this morning on Fox and Friends.
Less than 15 minutes in, we're greeted by Antifa, showing up with firecrackers that they're throwing at us, ink, paint, feces all over our campaign bus completely destroyed. That's the city of Portland circa 2022. That's why we're running for governor.
So firecrackers, smoke bombs, poop, those are the weapons Antifa is working with. How embarrassing. Seriously, who, what throws poop? These people are losers. Instead of going to work or volunteering or doing literally anything else, these low-T Batman wannabes brought firecrackers to a rally. These aren't defenders of democracy. They are grown-up kindergartners having a public tantrum because a Republican dared to set foot in their fair city. Give me a break. But this is what you get when you let children do whatever they want. Spare the rod, spoil the child is the saying, right? They threw away the rod in Portland a long time ago. Weak leaders like Mayor Ted Wheeler cowered to the woke mob 2 years ago, and he defunded the police. And even though protesters tried to burn down his own apartment building. And the real criminals, by the way, not these sad sack out-of-work birthday clowns over my shoulder here. Real criminals are taking note. Last year, the city's homicide numbers were the worst they'd been in more than 3 decades. And this year's numbers are on pace to break that record. Cops are overworked, they're understaffed, and even though Ted Wheeler refunded more than $5 million to that police department that he defunded the year before, you can see what is happening with crime. Remember, at the beginning, I told you 2 people were hurt at this rally, and it took more than 20 minutes for the police to show up. What would have happened if that had been a real, actual violence? People might have died. Joining me now is Seattle radio host Jason Rantz. Good evening, Jason. I actually want to turn to you and see if you need to make any correction to anything I had to say. In that, should I be taking these Antifa super soldiers a little more seriously? Are these your neighborhood clowns, or are they true violent revolutionaries?
I mean, they're truly violent, and we've certainly seen over the course of the last couple of years how violent they can get. Now, in certain circumstances, they're not going to be as violent as in others, but at the end of the day, they're driven by ideology. Their intent is to scare people off using violence. That classifies them, in my view, as domestic terrorists. It doesn't matter that in this case, no one was seriously injured, but the problem is they have been empowered to do this. Democrats won't call them out. Media doesn't even use the term Antifa. And I think part of the reason why is because they can't appreciate what these folks are trying to do, and they maybe have justified this level of violence or intimidation. The problem beyond that is that you just don't have enough police staff. Looking specifically at Portland, for example, they're down a tremendous number of cops, which is why they weren't actually able to respond in a reasonable amount of time. And it's just one step away from Antifa. You see all the other common criminals, the ones who are exceptionally violent, who do what they do because there are no consequences.
I want to go back to your why. Why are these weak politicians not doing anything about this? I hear you suggesting it's because they might, in the end, agree with the ideology. You know, Jason, I think there's a massive pandemic of weakness taking place in the United States of America, from the corporate level to the political level. Yep. I just have to wonder, when Ted Wheeler's own apartment building is almost burned down, are we dealing with a politician that agrees, or are we dealing with a politician who has no spine?
It's probably a little bit of both. I mean, no one has ever accused Ted Wheeler of having confidence or being able to stand up to bad guys. But I do think that when you mix ideology into the mix, what you end up having is blinders. You've got blinders on. which means you're not really truly understanding the implications of what you're accepting.
Right. Wow. And they've had to accept this in the Pacific Northwest for far too long, Jason. And I know you've been all over it. Thank you for telling us about it tonight.